Welcome to another edition of Teach the Geek Interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I am the founder of Teach the Geek. It's an online platform for science and engineering professionals. The first offering of the platform is a public speaking course called Teach the Geek to Speak. To learn more about it, you can go to teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Today, my guest is Fawad Khan, and he is an expert in digital transformation. He's also an adjunct professor and author of the ebook on Enterprise Digital Transformation, a concise guide to understanding and successfully transforming your organization. I'm really interested to learn more about his work as an adjunct professor, his book, of course, and then also his work in digital transformation. Welcome to Teach the Geek Interviews, Fawad.
Great, Neil. Thank you for having me over. It's a pleasure.
Great. So first question, from the bit of research I did on you, I saw you got your undergraduate degree in physics. What was the motivation to get that degree?
Yeah, so back in high school, I loved quantum physics. And I fell in love with physics in general, but working with quantum mechanics, it's fascinated me working with particles that are so small. So when I got into college, I wanted to become an electrical engineer. But then I'm like, hey, I can take a few additional courses and also get a degree in physics. And because of the fact that I loved quantum mechanics, I got a physics degree and I concentrated in quantum computing, or rather quantum mechanics when I was taking that degree. But it was easy to get the degree with like few courses, and that's what motivated me. But it was my interest in quantum mechanics that drove me at the end of the day.
I'm not sure I've ever heard anyone talk about getting a degree in physics being easy. Maybe the first.
you know, Neil, it's all about passion, right? You will do well, and you know that, and I'm sure you mentor too. It's all about having a passion for something, and if you have passion, you're going to excel. Doesn't matter if it's rocket science or not. So it really helps to have passion in something before you can do really great.
Yeah. And I also know that you got a master's in electrical engineering. So was that always the plan to go into school and get the degree in physics and then do the master's in electrical?
Yeah, I think physics was more like, hey, I can do it. I like it with few additional courses. But I think I wanted to get electrical engineering. Concentration. I wanted to get an undergrad. I came as a foreign student to US, and I got my master's. I wanted to get a job at that time, and I thought that getting a degree, a graduate degree, a master's degree in electrical engineering would probably make my chances of getting a job back then in those days. But yeah, the funny thing is, I'm not an electrical engineer by profession now, but yeah, my degrees were in totally different fields. And I realized later, as I got my degree in master's in electrical engineering, that I had better chances in learning about computers and getting a degree. So I did go and do my other master's in information systems to make sure that I had a piece of paper per se if I were to get in the IT industry.
Okay. From what I understand now, getting a job as a foreigner coming out of school as a foreign student is rather difficult. Did you have those type of issues when you were coming out of school?
Oh, absolutely. We are talking about early 90s, and I got out of college with my graduate degree. It was very tough to get a job. I remember sending almost like, and I saved them almost like 300, not 300, around 500 to 800 applications. And I saved all the rejection letters I got at that time. I used to joke with my friends and show them all the rejection letters. But the funny thing is, I ended up getting a part-time job as a teacher. That was my first gig ever in US, working for another company, in this case, a small college. So I was talking about computers, teaching about computers, and that really got me going and thinking like, I need to get into this field. and I need to learn more. I went and I bought my first computer. I saved a lot of money. It was a 386. It was like a huge tower that came up to this point. And I learned Windows 3.0 and DOS 3.1 on that. So it was a journey. It was definitely a journey. And it started back when I realized that I like working with computers.
Wow, you saved all those rejection letters. You must have been a glutton for punishment for a while. What's your deal?
you know, you know, again, I have a lot of students I talk to. I tell them never give up. And persistence and hard work always pays off at the end of the day. And you never know how close you are to being successful. So never giving up is always close to my heart. And it's also close to when I talk to my students and my mentees on helping them out to be successful.
You had said that your first job was part-time as teaching. Was it ever a goal of yours to become a full-time teacher? Or was it always something you wanted to do part-time?
No, I think initially it was just that to stay in the country, I needed a visa. I needed a working visa. And I was fortunate that the director at that college sponsored me and got me an H-1B visa. But I wanted to go out and become an electrical engineer because I thought, hey, I have electrical engineering graduate degree. I should be in that field. But you know very well, Neil, that's not how things work out usually for most of us. So no, I never wanted to be a teacher, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that experience. And but it was never in my mind that, hey, I'm going to become a teacher full time. I always wanted to be out in the industry. That was important for me at that point.
Out of curiosity, if you had to have gone back to your country of origin, what kind of work would you have done with the degrees you had?
Yeah, that's interesting. And I did go back for 3 years, and believe it or not, I was teaching. I was an associate professor at one of the universities where I'm from. And I taught for 3 years, around 3 years, and I did come back after that. I looked for jobs in the industry, but I had gained a lot of experience doing part-time teaching at that point. When I did go back in early 2000, I did go back and I taught for a couple of years and then I came back. But you know, when I taught as a full-time, I started loving it. I started loving it because mentoring is really close to my heart. And as I talk to young students and folks there, I felt like I could make a difference to them by helping them out in whatever way I can, by talking to them, by listening to them.
What was the I guess the motivation to return to the U.S. then, if you were enjoying the work that you were doing where you were from?
Yeah. So my wife said, okay, we should move back to U.S.
Okay.
So that was a decision we made. It was a personal decision that we wanted to come to U.S. and start a new chapter of life.
Got it.
Over there.
All right, fair enough. So I mentioned in the intro that you are an expert in digital transformation. I must admit, I have no clue what that means. So firstly, what is digital transformation and how'd you get into it?
Yeah, this is interesting. And yeah, digital transformation is just an industry buzzword, first of all. But it means using digital technologies to build products, services, and customer experiences. And as much as you would think it's all about technology, it is not. Digital transformation is about looking at your business, looking at your current products and services in the portfolio and saying, hey, how can I use digital transformation to evolve my products? So you look at your business model and say, how can digital technology can help us evolve our products? So evolving your business models is important. Competition also drives digital transformation. Somebody else down the road is using digital technology to come up with some new product or service. So you're pressured as a company to make sure that you do something equivalent or something better. Customer expectations. Hey, company ABC is using this technology to give us this product. How come you guys are not doing this? So driven by revenue growth, driven by competitive pressure, and driven by customer expectations. Those are the key things that drive companies to use digital technologies to evolve their business, evolve their business models, and to compete within the field. And you know, with Neil, with today's culture of startups and agility that startups bring, it has become very hard for the older or the legacy companies to compete. So there's a lot involved in a company successfully digitally transforming themselves. It's not about technology. I'll emphasize that. Technology is just an enabler for you to create products and services. It's about changing your culture. It's about changing your culture so you can compete and can live up to your customers' expectations and come up with products with agility, come up with products that live up to customer expectations, and you can compete at the same time.
You know, I think I might have skipped a step. So we talked about your work as a teacher and the work that you currently do in digital transformation. But I'm guessing there's a bunch of stuff that you did in between. What type of work did you do in between being a teacher and working digital transformation?
Yeah. So it has been a journey. It definitely has been a journey for me. Teaching part-time was the first job I had. I worked at large-size corporations for a while. I had my own business for 6 years as an ISP. And then, as I said, or rather I didn't mention, I got married, we moved to Seattle. And that's when I started working at Microsoft. And I worked through a lot of different organizations within Microsoft, with the Office 365, Azure Cloud, Dynamics 365, and that's what got me interested in digital transformation and cloud technologies and all that.
I wrote a post on LinkedIn not too long ago, I think earlier this week, and I asked a question about developing or having a career plan and how important it is. So to you, at least in the journey that you've had, did you have some sort of plan on what you wanted to do? Or was it more, I was presented with these opportunities and I accepted them and I saw where they took me?
I think initially when you're looking for your first job, so that's a great question, first of all, Neil. When you're looking for your first job, I think you're desperate as a student, fresh student, you know, you're coming out, hey, give me anything. I just want a job. I want to pay the rent, kind of a scenario. But as you mature, as you work, you try to understand, and you have to do some self-exploration and try to understand, hey, what am I passionate about? What really gets me excited when I'm working on project A or project B? Why does project A excites me? So you do have to be intentional and be asking questions of yourself. Initially, no, I don't. But now I do what I'm passionate about. I love teaching. I love mentoring. I'm doing that part-time. I have a full-time job. I enjoy that a lot. It's dealing with digital technologies. It's dealing with technologies that I love. You got to do what you're good at. We're going back to that passion statement. And I tell my kids too. I mean, my daughter, she's so sweet. She's making these small rubber band bracelets and all that. It's right here. I'll show you right here. She made this rainbow bracelet here. And I got her like a lot of sets of rubber bands so she can do that. She's passionate about that. But when I ask her to read a a book. She has a hard time doing that. But it was amazing. She watched some YouTube videos and she was able to make like 50 of those in different styles. And it's amazing how you look at your kids and a lot of things click for you as an adult. You learn a lot when you look at kids, even you're like, oh my God, she would not even eat her lunch. She'll be sitting looking at the YouTube video and making this rubber band bracelet. And she would make so many of those. But when she's asked to read a little bit, she has a tough time trying to do that. So I'm a firm believer in passion, and that's what drives you to do really well. And, you know, a lot of people are driven by money. Like, hey, I can make money here. No, the thing is, you have to put your passion first. And if you love something and you love to do something, at the end of the day, to me, that is going to make you a lot of money. Don't worry about the money. Put your passion first. And that is what success is. And that will bring you success, at least in my book. And that's what I've seen.
You know, I'm kind of similar to your daughter, and I struggle to read too. And you know, whenever I'm on podcasts, and sometimes when I'm on podcasts, that's one of the questions they'll ask is, what's your favorite book? And I'm always thinking, man, I'm praying they don't ask me that damn question, because I don't want to look like a fool in front of these people. Because people always, you know, when other people ask that question, they always have some kind of profound answer of some, you know, some great, you know, inspirational book or some business book or something. And I'm just like, man, I got to come up with something. So I have my go-to book that I always say.
Well, that's funny you're saying that, Neil, because I don't have time with family, with having a full-time job, and with teaching. And pre-COVID, as I was dropping off my kids at their schools, I have these audiobooks I was listening to. And sorry, I can't recall the names of all because it has been a while since I listened to any, but I thought there was a good use of my time is listen to some audiobooks. And you know, I'm not into technology books. I am a lot about leadership, communication, self-improvement, mentoring. Those kind of books were really close to me, and I would listen to them. But sorry, I'm just like you. I can't tell you what is my favorite book right now. Or I also only do digital audiobooks.
Well, that makes me feel a lot better for why I don't feel like the only guy out there and I don't have no go-to book. No, this book changed my life. Like, man, I don't know, man. I ain't got no book for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. There are a lot of good books, you know. I mean, I can't really say that any particular book changed my life. And you know, you learn a lot from talking to people. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity to chat with me, Neil. But I think talking to people, listening to their experiences, you end up learning a lot too.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that matters a lot too.
No question. Well, you know, we're talking about books, but you actually wrote one. So just out of curiosity, what was the motivation for writing your book?
I think sharing was the biggest motivator for me. Being a part-time faculty member, and being a teacher, I believe in sharing, and even on social media, I'm actively engaged in Twitter and LinkedIn. I love sharing. That's the best way to learn. What I love about sharing is you end up learning a lot first yourself, because you're sharing something that you most probably have read, or at least real quick, you know, the summary. But what really puts a cherry on the top for me is when people give their perspective on that. Because when you share on social media, I want to see if people are agreeing, disagreeing, neutral, or is there another perspective they have? And that's what I appreciate, because to me, that is learning. You shared, you have your opinion, but now you got to look at people's perspective 360 degrees and say, okay, because all of us have different experiences, right? I come from a different background, different country, different kind of upbringing, different experiences. I'm going to look at things from other people's eyes and brains. So that's my favorite thing to do, to just listen and understand people's perspective.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to public speaking specifically, when did you realize that becoming effective at it could be a benefit to you?
That's a great point. So I think in the last 10 years or so, I think I realized that it was important that you got to have good communication skills. Having good technical skills, to me, will only get you to a certain point. But having wonderful communication skills will get you everywhere. Um, you can be a mediocre technical person, but if you know how to speak and listen, you will be very effective in your role or any leadership role. And again, I mean, communication, to me, the first rule is listening. And it's funny, I talk to my kids, and we talk about academics and their studies and all that, but I keep emphasizing the value of communication to them. I say, you got to be fully balanced. You don't want to be a technical genius with no communication skills, or you don't want to be a zero in technical skills, but you got to have decent technical skills with decent communication skills, and bring balance as a technical person. All right. So it's important.
Yeah. So you know what I took away from that? You said if you're a leader and you have mediocre technical skills, but great communication skills, and you could be a great leader. So for those of you out there, even if you're not the best, technically, then even if you have these communication skills, you can still get ahead. So always keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So then also, when it comes to public speaking, is it something that you were always good at? And if not, what did you do to get better at it?
No, I was never good at it. I'll tell you the truth right there. I remember in college, university, when I was getting my graduate degree, there was a graduate course in electrical engineering where our professor had us write a paper, and he had us present that paper on camera. He said, you're going to write a paper and give me that paper, 30 pages, 35 pages. Then you're going to stand in front of the class for an hour and a half and you're going to present that paper. That was probably the first experience I had. And I remember going there, and literally within like 30 seconds and a minute, I was sweating. I was sweating, and it was winters, it was, and I was, I, sorry, my son is here. just, just give me a second. He needs to get his computer. Sorry about that. So I was sweating, and by the time the presentation was done, I was drenched. Literally, I was that nervous. I realized at that time, like, oh, this is not good, but it took me some time. I think as I got into a role and started working in the industry, I noticed, again, going back to my point, being technically good can only get you to a certain point, but you got to be good at selling your idea, your whatever you're working on, to your leadership, to the senior leadership, or across your organization to other folks within the organization. And if you didn't have the confidence or the skill to sell your idea, I understood that I was not being successful. And as I said, even working in a company, you have to sell your ideas. You have to, everybody in a large organization, everybody has great ideas. What are the ideas that actually come to fruition at the end of the day? Ideas from people who were able to articulate those to the right people at the right time. So success, it's extremely important to have great communication skills and be able to talk about your ideas. For me, it kind of helped me as I was teaching to build up the skill set, to have the confidence. Talking to you, even Neil, gives me confidence in public speaking. Doing interviews, doing presentations, teaching in the class, being involved in some meetup groups. There are a lot of ways through which you can sharpen your skills. Reading about it, learning about it. And I know you have some courses and all that, looking into those different ways where you can learn the basics, then go and practice those. That's what will make you successful as a good communicator.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Fawad. I mean, as you said, you could have the best ideas in the world, but if you're not adept at communicating those ideas to people that can make them happen, then they just stay ideas. So I fully agree with you there. When it comes to the presentations that you put together, do you have a process for doing that? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, always be prepared. Rule number one. Never walk into a presentation, and it can be not even a presentation like this conversation, Neil. When this morning I woke up early, I looked at a bunch of your videos. I wanted to see the kind of questions that you were asking and how your presenters were answering those. Not that I copied there, but it gave me an idea. So I was preparing myself. I made sure that I got good sleep. All right. I exercised yesterday. There are a lot of things you can do to make sure you're being productive. You're being really effective. And then I'll give you an example. For all my courses, I usually do slide decks because I present summary of the topics. Then as I show a slide, I'm talking about that slide, or I can't put everything on the slide, right? So I put the summary, the bullet points, and I talk about that. So I get a lot of practice from teaching by doing slides or some kind of talking points that I have on the side. Same thing in my work. I do a lot of presentation decks, and I always go prepared to the meetings. I always do research first on what the topic is. I understand competitively. If I'm talking about a product or service that we offer and our competition also offers it, I go research about our competition. I talk to some other folks about it and get their perspective, and then put the presentation together. And sometimes we practice it. So if we are presenting to our senior leadership, we do a dry run, right? You want to make sure you get it right, and you're prepared. One key thing I have learned is always be prepared for some common questions you will get. And you never know what kind of questions you're going to get, but be prepared for some of the very common questions and have a good answer. So preparation, dry runs, talking to folks, looking at your ecosystem, looking at your competition, all those things will help you.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, especially that point about having, or at least putting some thought into the type of questions that people are going to ask. I think that's really smart, and helps you, just in being prepared, probably being a little more or less nervous about the presentation. Speaking about nervousness, I know you mentioned that first presentation you gave when you were in school, and within a few seconds starting to sweat. I'm hoping that you've been able to cope with nervousness since those days, and if so, what coping strategies do you have to allay your nerves when presenting?
I think I'll go back to your point around being prepared. If you have done your homework for your presentation that you're going to do, it just builds that confidence. That's one. If it's a big presentation, doing a dry run in front of friends and family, getting some feedback from them becomes important. After you do it for a while, and you have to start somewhere. You might be nervous for the first presentation, but as you gain confidence, it becomes easier and easier. Few things which are, I just talked about them, are people might think they're not important, but they are important. Believe me. I mean, I exercised yesterday. I run a lot, 3-4 times a week. So I ran yesterday. So that was my exercise. Get good sleep. If it's in the morning, have a good breakfast. All right. And those things become important too for you and in your presentation. And then practice and get feedback. And there might be some nervousness that you might have, but if you just concentrate on the content, I think you're going to do well. Wonderful. Rather than looking at all the people that are sitting in front of you and all that. And one thing that has helped me is there's always, if you're presenting in front of the people, there are a few people who usually nod their head like, yeah, I get you. And I concentrate on that person saying, hey, that's going to be my confidence person right there. So I look at that person and say, okay, I'm doing well, and I need to continue to do better. So you can always gain confidence from your audience too. So those are some of the tips and techniques that have helped me at least.
Wonderful. Well, you know what, Fawad, this has been really interesting talking to you. Is there anything else that you'd like to add about things that you're working on?
No, I just wanted to thank you, Neil, for the opportunity to have me here. I really enjoyed the discussion with you, and happy to chat with you in the future too, as need be so.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, that marks the end of another edition of Teach the Geek Interviews. My name is Neil Thompson, founder of Teach the Geek. It's an online platform for science and engineering professionals. The first offering is Teach the Geek to Speak. It's an online public speaking course. To learn more about it, you can go to teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Until next time, take care and stay safe. Thanks, Fawad.
Thank you.